A podcast can be the perfect thing to grow your personal brand, but I want to make sure you're starting at the right time. So that's exactly what we're talking about in this Espresso Shot episode. Welcome to the Podcast Cafe, where we're serving up everything you need to know about podcasting, from tips, stories, and strategies for podcasters from podcasters. I'm your host, Hayleigh Hayhurst, the founder of Espresso Podcast Production, a full-service podcast agency helping business owners, creatives, and thought leaders launch and grow their shows. Whether you're just starting out or want to take your podcast to the next level, this is the place for you. Each week, we'll dive into practical tips, actionable strategies, and of course, stories from other podcasters so that you can build up a podcast that you love and that works for your business. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's get started. Welcome to the Podcast Cafe. Hey, welcome back to another Espresso Shot episode where we get straight to the point in all things podcasting. So let's start here. Your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And in today's world, especially with online businesses, your voice is one of the strongest tools you have to shape that narrative. Podcasting not only helps you show up consistently, but also authentically and in a way that builds real trust. So here's why it works. It lets your audience hear your voice, your tone, your energy, without the need to continuously write more content, because the podcast, which I've talked about in other episodes, can completely shift the way that you market because the podcast gives you so much content, it saves you time in all the other marketing efforts. Podcasting also gives you the long form platform that everyone desires, so you can actually go deeper into your message, your values, your personal stories, why you do what you do, your different approach to business, what makes you unique in this field. You need a long form platform to do that for you. And lastly, and almost more importantly, it's bingeable, which means people will listen back multiple episodes if they want to learn more about you and they trust who you are and they're into what you're talking about. So it gives you this really cool opportunity where your podcast can do the sales for you, right? Because people can find one episode, binge listen back and be like, okay, I want to work with this person. If your business relies on your face or your voice to grow your brand, a podcast is truly a no-brainer for you. Let's get into when is the right time to start your personal brand podcast. Whether you are wanting more thought leadership in the industry that you're in, wanting to start one for your business, or truly just wanting to share your message and get more out there, let's break down when the right time to start is. If you're building a personal brand, whether you're a coach, service provider, speaker, expert, a podcast is one of the best tools you can use to actually build authority and trust. It positions you as a thought leader, gives your audience a chance to really get to know you deeper than they would on any other platform, and it lets you show up consistently in a way that social media just can't compete with. And so when I get the question, when is the right time to start a podcast? Here is the most important thing. Before you hit record, know exactly who you're talking to and why you're talking to them. This means have a clear niche, understand your ideal audience, and know what topics and conversations will actually help them grow in the direction that they want to grow in. Once you've nailed that, that's pretty much all you need to start a podcast. You don't have to have every single thing figured out. You just need to have a clear message, a goal, and a desire to serve your audience with value. So let's talk about this a little more tactically. How do you know when you're ready to start a podcast? And here's a few questions that I want you to answer, and that will really tell me if you're ready or not. Do you know who your show is for? And I don't just want you to say it's for women or it's for business owners, but something more specific like female creatives looking to scale to six figures, or millennial moms navigating holistic health, or like a few of my clients do, a podcast about wine for people who want to learn but don't want the snobbery behind it. Additionally, I have a client who has a business podcast, but she talks to bridal seamstresses. That's niche. That's who her show is for. So who's your show for beyond just the basic women business owners? Now, the next thing I want you to know is, what do you want to be known for? Is it mindset, marketing, something specific, a transformation? Make sure that you know what your listeners will get out of the podcast before you actually start. And then the third thing is, if you're ready to create content that serves your audience, I don't want every episode to be selling. I want you to actually want to serve your audience. So if you're ready to do that, then 100% it's a perfect time to start a podcast. And here's the other thing. You don't have to have a full year planned out. You don't need a huge social media following to start a podcast. You don't even need to be the expert behind the mic, because that's what you will become. You just need clarity, commitment, and the right support to actually start the podcast. And I get it. Launching a podcast can feel like a big commitment. Weekly episodes, marketing, editing, writing show notes. It can be a lot. I'm going to be honest, this is exactly why I created the Espresso series. And if you haven't heard me talk about it yet, it's a limited series podcast designed for entrepreneurs who want the impact of podcasting without the ongoing pressure of a weekly show. So in this, I do help you clarify your message, speak directly to your audience, and really have this as a powerful evergreen podcast that positions you as the expert and kind of does the sales for you. But again, the most important thing is once you know who you're talking to, even if you haven't made a ton of sales, maybe you've only had a handful of clients, like a podcast can really get you in front of the right people, and tapping into a podcast sooner rather than later is a great way to go about this. Additionally, if you already have an audience, you've already worked with clients, you already have the evidence to show of what you do, a podcast truly can take it to the next level, because there's a whole group of people who learn to trust you just through audio. So by having a limited series podcast, it gets you in front of them as well. The limited series podcast is truly perfect if you want to build a brand that your audience already trusts you. You want to nurture your audience without having to send them DMs or, do all the things that typically you would have to do in sales to get to the point of them trusting you. And it also supports your offer, because I would never let anyone start a podcast that wouldn't grow their business. And this is all without the commitment of a full-blown podcast. So the Espresso series, if we double tap into it, is perfect for anyone who's launching or nurturing a new offer, replacing a webinar or lead magnet, because this series can be your lead magnet, one of your top performing lead magnets. You can build visibility and trust quickly. So in the Espresso series, it's 5 to 10 episodes. And imagine if someone binge listens to all of that on a Monday through Friday. On Monday, they're introduced to you. On Friday, they're ready to hire you. And it's also perfect for anyone who just wants to test the water before going all into a full podcast. So if you've been thinking about starting a podcast for your brand, but don't want to commit to a weekly show, this is exactly why I created the Espresso series. Okay, and last thing I want to cover before we wrap up this Espresso Shot episode, starting a podcast is one of the best decisions I've personally made for my brand. It's opened doors that I didn't even know were there, from networking to client relationships to building brand credibility. I mean, I go to a ton of networking events. I can meet someone really cool, invite them onto my podcast, and we just have a deeper level of connection. I've had really cool opportunities come through guests from my show. I also interview my clients. My clients listen to my podcast, and I also interview them to highlight what they do. So it's a win-win for everyone. But I will say the only reason that the podcasts that I have, Employee to Boss and Podcast Cafe, have worked is because I started with clarity and I knew who I wanted to reach and what I wanted to be known for. So if that's where you are, you're ready. And if that's something you're still figuring out, get clear and then go for it, because your voice deserves to be heard 100%. All right, well, that's all for this Espresso Shot episode. If you found this helpful, I would love it if you could share this episode with a friend who's been thinking about starting a podcast, or just share it on your Instagram story. I would absolutely love it. Please tag me when you do. Okay, until next time, keep showing up, and I will catch you in the next interview episode. Thank you so much for joining me in the Podcast Cafe. I hope you're leaving with fresh ideas and inspiration to take your podcast to the next level. Remember, podcasting is a journey and you don't have to do it alone. I'm here to help you every step of the way. Let's connect. Be sure you follow me on Instagram at Espresso Podcast Production, or visit espressopodcastproduction.com for more tips, resources, and behind the scenes insights. I'd love to hear about your podcasting journey. If you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling extra generous, I'd love it if you could leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps more podcasters just like you find the show. Until next time, grab your coffee, keep creating, and I'll see you back here in the Podcast Cafe.